In Miami, a ruthless gang of robbers was terrorizing the city, hitting banks and armored cars in broad daylight. Armed with assault weapons, they struck with deadly precision, sometimes twice a day. For a while, they seemed untouchable, as if nothing could stop them. The FBI knew these weren't just petty criminals, they were violent, calculated, and relentless. Determined to end their spree, agents predicted the gang's next move and set up a stakeout, hoping for a quick arrest. But what they didn't expect was a bloody gunfight. When the robbers struck again, chaos erupted. FBI agents, armed only with handguns, found themselves facing a barrage of rifle fire. In under 5 minutes, 145 shots were fired, and the scene turned into the deadliest confrontation in FBI history. So cool were these men, how did they become so feared, and what led to this fateful showdown? This is the story of the deadliest heist in American history, a story full of danger, unexpected twists, and a race against time. It all began with an FBI investigation. The authorities were on the hunt for two men, William Maddox from Ohio and Michael Lee Platt from San Diego. These two had a reputation for using high-powered guns and getting around in stolen cars. In 1984, they made their way to Miami and set up a landscaping business. On the surface, it looked like a normal operation, but behind the scenes, they were involved in a string of violent robberies. By the fall of 1985, the FBI had begun to suspect them of being connected to several of these robberies. The situation escalated in March 1986, when another robbery took place just blocks away from where a dramatic shootout would later unfold. This crime, like the others, had the same violent style and raised alarm bells for the FBI, prompting them to close in on Maddox and Platt. What followed would be one of the most infamous gunfights in FBI history. Maddox started his military career in the US Marine Corps from 1969 to 1972, working as a cook. He served in Hawaii and Okinawa and was honorably discharged as a sergeant in 1972. In 1973, he joined the U.S. Army, where he served as a military police officer with the 101st Airborne Division at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, holding roles like squad leader and patrol supervisor until his discharge in 1976. As for Platt, he enlisted in the Army in 1972, training as an infantryman. He completed Air Assault School at Fort Campbell and was assigned to the military police unit, where he met Maddox. Platt was honorably discharged in 1979. Both Maddox and Platt had tragic stories involving their former wives. Maddox's wife, Patricia, and a co-worker, Joyce, were brutally murdered on December 30th, 1983 at Riverside Methodist Hospital in Columbus, Ohio. Both women, who were cancer researchers, were found stabbed in the hospital laboratory, bound and gagged with their throats slashed. Maddox suspected that Platt might have had an affair with Patricia, and while he was considered a suspect in the murders, he was never charged. After his wife's death, Maddox moved to Florida at Platt's suggestion, and together they started a landscaping and tree removal business called Yankee Clipper Tree Tree Trimming Service in May 1985. Maddox married Christy Lawn, but their marriage was short-lived. She moved out just 2 months later after Maddox became angry upon discovering she was pregnant. She later gave birth to their son after Maddox had passed away. Platt's situation was also heartbreaking. His first wife, Regina, whom he married in 1975, was found dead from a single shotgun wound to the mouth on December 21st, 1984. Her death was ruled as suicide. Platt then married his second wife, Brenda Horn, in January 1985. Before they started their crime spree, neither Platt nor Maddox had a criminal record, and to the outside world, they appeared as ordinary men. Even Platt's second wife, Brenda, claimed she had no idea her husband and his close friend were living a double life as armed robbers. But things took a dark and deadly turn in 1985. On October 5th, 1985, Platt and Maddox committed their first murder. Emery Briel, an innocent man enjoying some target practice in a rock pit, had no idea his life was in danger when he crossed paths with them. Platt and Maddox killed Briel in cold blood, dumped his body, and stole his car. It would be months before his body was discovered and a full year before he was identified. With Briel unable to report the theft, his car became their perfect getaway vehicle for future crimes, safe from suspicion and law enforcement. From that point on, Platt and Maddox embarked on a series of violent robberies, becoming more dangerous with each one. They weren't just robbers, they were shooters who seemed to take pleasure in using their weapons. As ex-military personnel, both men were highly skilled with firearms, making them even more of a threat to anyone who stood in their way. On March 12, 1986, their deadly routine struck again. While practicing their shooting in another rock pit outside of Miami, they encountered a hobby shooter named Jose Collazo. Pretending to be friendly, Platt and Maddox lured Collazo into a false sense of security before suddenly turning on him. They gunned him down without hesitation and stole his car, just as they had done with Briel. This pattern of killing innocent people to steal their vehicles eventually became a signature move for the two criminals. This time, though, Platt and Maddox made a crucial mistake. They thought they had killed Collazo, but he wasn't dead. Though seriously wounded, Collazo had the presence of mind to play dead until the two criminals left the area. Once they were gone, he managed to gather his strength and walked 3 miles back to civilization, where he reported the terrifying ordeal to the police. The Miami office of the FBI quickly connected the dots. They were confident this crime had been committed by the same bank robbing duo they were tracking. However, the FBI made a strategic decision. They chose to keep certain details quiet. They didn't publicize that Collazo had survived, nor did they mention that his car had been stolen. The idea was simple: if Platt and Maddox believed they'd gotten away without raising any suspicion, they would feel safe using the stolen car. Having a detailed description of the vehicle gave law enforcement a crucial advantage. This tactic paid off. The FBI now had a key piece of information that would help bring down the dangerous pair. The stolen car became the missing link that put the agency one step ahead of Platt and Maddox. By analyzing the patterns from their previous robberies, Special Agent Gordon McNeil had a hunch about where and when the criminals would strike next. He was certain they would target the South Dixie Highway area once again, and that it would happen on April 11, 1986. With this insight, the FBI prepared to intercept them, setting the stage for a dramatic confrontation that would ultimately lead to the demise of the modern-day Butch and Sundance. Confident enough in his hunch, McNeil requested moving surveillance to cover the South Dixie Highway area on the suggested date. His request was approved, and a team of 14 FBI agents from the Miami office gathered for a briefing. The plan was simple but crucial. There would be a rolling, coordinated surveillance of the banks along South Dixie Highway. Agents were given the description of Collazo's stolen Monte Carlo and its license plate number. Though they expected the robbers might have switched the plates by then, still, knowing the car gave them a big advantage. Among the agents at the briefing were some of the most experienced in the field: Ben Grogan, Richard Manozzi, Gordon McNeil, Gilbert Orantia, John Hanlon, Gerald Dove, Ron Risner, and Edmundo Miles Jr. The atmosphere in the room was serious as the assignments were handed out, but there was also a sense of camaraderie with light banter exchanged between the agents' professionals who had worked together for years. There's a unique tension in law enforcement when it comes to operations like this. On the one hand, it can feel like just another routine surveillance, one that might end with nothing happening. On the other, there's always that lingering feeling that today might be the day, a turning point. With their roles defined and expectations set, the agents headed out to South Dixie Highway, ready for whatever might come next. At 9:30 a.m., the calm of the morning was shattered when FBI agents Ben Grogan and Gerald Dove spotted the stolen 1979 Monte Carlo with Platt and Maddox inside, near the Sunnyside Shopping Center. To their surprise, the suspects hadn't even bothered to change the plates. Grogan and Dove immediately began tailing the vehicle, calling for backup as they coordinated with other agents to assist in what they hoped would be a smooth apprehension. But the situation quickly escalated. As other FBI units converged on the scene, Platt and Maddox realized they were being followed. Before the agents could perform a controlled felony stop, the suspects sped off, trying to escape. The chase didn't last. Though, within moments, FBI agents rammed the vehicle, forcing it to crash and trapping it between their cars at 12201 182nd Avenue in Pinecrest, Miami. The Monte Carlo was boxed in. Agent Richard Manozzi's vehicle was on the left, with Gordon McNeil next to him. Grogan and Dove's squad car was positioned behind the suspects to the right, while a parked civilian vehicle blocked any chance of escape. As soon as the car screeched to a halt, the quiet was broken by gunfire. Platt wasted no time and immediately opened fire with his Mini 14 rifle, aiming directly at Agent Manozzi to his left. Seeing the danger, Manozzi ducked just in time as bullets flew in his direction. But in the chaos of the crash, Manozzi's service revolver had flown off the seat and out of sight, leaving him unarmed as the deadly gunfight unfolded. Despite being wounded, Manozzi acted quickly, exiting his car and trying to stay in the fight, even without his weapon. The gun battle was just beginning. And it would soon become one of the bloodiest confrontations in FBI history. By this time, Special Agent McNeil had exited his vehicle and was actively engaging Platt and Maddox. Despite the chaos unfolding around him, McNeil later recalled being surprisingly calm. I was the calmest I have been. When I exited my vehicle, I saw everything clearly with my peripheral vision. I did some shooting, I got shot, I bore down and took 2 more shots. When I ran out of ammo and realized that it was still going on, then I got scared. Meanwhile, Agent John Hanlon was also facing his own crisis. When his squad car crashed into a wall during the pursuit, his service revolver was knocked out of reach, left with no choice. Hanlon quickly drew his backup weapon, a small 5-shot snub-nosed revolver, from his ankle holster. Determined to assist his fellow agents, Hanlon left his position of relative safety and ran across the street under heavy fire to help Dove and Grogan, who were locked in a deadly shootout with the suspects. At the same time, Special Agent Edmundo Miles made a split-second decision. He separated from his partner, Hanlon, and rushed toward McNeil, who appeared to be wounded but was still engaged in the firefight. Miles carried a Remington 870 shotgun, knowing he had to act fast to provide support. But just as he neared McNeil's position, a 223 round fired by Platt slammed into Miles' forearm, severely injuring him and knocking him to the ground. Despite his wound, Morales wasn't out of the fight. As bullets flew and agents struggled to stay in the fight, the tension mounted. Morales was down, severely wounded and struggling to stay conscious. The damage to his arm was immense, and he later admitted that in those moments, thoughts of death crossed his mind. Death was like a seductress, he would say in a presentation about the fight. Morales was on the brink,